Hello there and welcome. My name's Sunny. I'm from iPhone Life Hacks and I'm here to show you how you can get the most from your iPhone. So today's lesson in how using your iPhone is really covering the basics. We're going to be looking at navigating through your various iPhone screens. We'll be looking about how you can move apps around, and we will also be looking at how you can create folders so that you have a nice, organised and neat iPhone layout. So let's get straight into navigation. We have got an iPhone here. This is an iPhone 5 that I'm using, and the operating system that I've got running here is the new iOS 10, which launches fully and officially in September. That's just 1 month from now. But I got hold of a beta version, and that's why you can see an app there called Feedback. When you actually get iOS 10, then you will not have a feedback app. You can also see a home app. That is a completely new feature, and we might cover that on another video. So let's look at navigation here then. So this is the home screen. This is where you'll go as soon as you've entered your password or pressed your Touch ID. And I have only got the apps on here which come with iOS 10. And then on the next screen, if I swipe across the screen, then there's a whole new bunch of apps there. There is one extra app there down in the corner called AVS. That's not part of iOS 10. That's something that I have added. That's a really cool app, and again, I might cover that in another video. Now, let's go back to the home screen. We can do this in two ways. We can swipe, or we can just press the home button, of course, and we will always go back to the first screen. Now, if you look closely, you'll see at the bottom, just above the dock, there are 3 dots. Each of those dots actually indicates a different screen. So why is it still on the middle dot instead of the one on the far left? And that's because in iOS 10 there is an entire screen where I can find these notifications. Now, these aren't quite the same notifications that you'll see in the notification screen, but I just find it easier to call these notifications. So what we've got here is a set of widgets which I have added in, and they are all connected to apps that are already as part of the iOS. So we can see here that's my calendar, we've got some weather report coming up, and we've got some rather unfortunate news which has come through today from the BBC about an accident, so we'll just kind of skip past that. But right down to the bottom we can see an edit button. So if we press on edit, this then takes us to an area where we can actually edit our widgets. So if I don't want to have that news in there anymore, I'm just going to tap on the red circle with the minus sign, and we get an option to remove. So let's just do that, and there you go. Now what that's done is it's moved the news app down to the bottom, and you can see that the news has disappeared. I'll just tap on done. There we go, and now we don't actually have to worry about the news anymore. Now, what happened here is we just drag down, and we then get our search box. So that's where the search has moved to. Let me just push it back up again, and we have widget. If I slide down, it then expands the search. It also allows Siri as well if you want to use Siri. Now, if we then swipe back to our home screen, we also want to know where our notifications are. Notifications haven't moved. We can just swipe down from the top of the screen, and there's our notification center. And again, you can now see there are 2 spots at the bottom indicating that there are 2 screens actually available in this area of the phone. So if I just swipe to the right, there you go, we've got our widgets back. So you can always get to your widgets. It doesn't matter if you are want to access the widgets from the home screen, in which case you would just swipe to the right, or just from any screen you can just pull down the notification center. So let me just push that back up again, and there we go. we're back on the home screen. So we can do that from here. I can slide down, we've got notifications, and we can swipe left. So that gives us easy access to the widget area. You may be one of these people that has 7, 8 or 9 screens, and so if you're way over to one side, then it might be a little bit slightly more time consuming to come back to the home screen just so that you can swipe to the right and get back to your widgets. So your widgets are accessible anytime you like. Now, that's how we get around our iOS at a surface level. Now, what we also want to look at is moving our apps around. This is really just to try and organise how your screen is laid out. So, for example, if I don't want the Photos app to be at the top and put it down to the bottom, then that's not a problem. I can do that. So the way we do this is to keep our finger pressed on any of the apps, any at all. It doesn't matter where we begin. So just press an app, and then they go into this wobble mode. So some of them have little X's, which means they are deletable. They don't actually have to remain, but the ones without an X are actually an integral part of your iPhone, and you cannot actually get rid of them. So let's see what we do next then. So we want to move the Photos app. So if I just grab the Photos app, all I'm going to do is just keep my finger pressed on Photos. See it expands slightly to show that I've grabbed it, and then I can just pull it down. And when I do that, all the other apps move around and fill in the gap that got left behind. And there we go. So this feedback app, for example, could be thinking, well, do you know, it's a feedback app. It doesn't really need to be on my front screen. So let me move that to a different screen altogether. And so we'll just pop our finger on top. There you go. And I'm just going to move it to the edge of the screen and just wait. My finger's still touching. And you can see actually that the iOS has generated a whole new screen where I can just throw the app in. And you can see that there are 4 dots at the bottom now. So if I swipe left, that's my secondary screen. If I swipe left again, that's my main home screen. To stop the apps from wobbling and to get out of this particular mode, I just press my home button and everything just goes calm again. And I always feel quite relieved when that happens. I don't know about you if you've done this before, but when they stop wobbling, my eyes just feel so much better. And so there you go. My first 2 screens now do not show the feedback app, and that starts to feel a little bit more like my normal iPhone again now. But the 4 dots at the bottom just give away the fact that there is another screen, and there's the feedback app sitting up there. Okay, now I mentioned earlier that you may actually have several screens, and sometimes finding the app you want is a little bit tough. There's 2 ways you can do that. You can either go to search, so remember swipe, and we can either tap on search at the top, or we can pull down and we get some suggestions from Siri as to which apps we might be looking for. Let's cancel that, swipe back. Or the other way is for you to just keep swiping through your iPhone until you kind of remember where you might have left that app. So what I do is I actually have my main screen, like I'm showing you now, and then I also have a second screen where I create folders. And that's all I have. I have my main screen and I have a secondary screen with folders. And I have somewhere in the order of 130 to 140 apps, and they're just contained within these 2 screens because of the beauty of folders. So let's look at how we create a folder. There's already one on there that I created earlier at the top. It's called My Health. And so what's happened, if I tap on My Health, we've basically grouped certain apps together. So we can do that with 2 others. So let's, for example, look at the iTunes Store and the Music app as well. Okay, so these 2 you might kind of feel like they're related to each other, yeah? So they're related to music, and you know, they even have almost the same logo on there. So they go together, don't they? So we're going to create a folder and put them in one place. So We need to go back into wobble mode, as I call it. So I'm going to press one of the apps. I'm just going to press the music app for a second, hit expanded to show that I've still got my finger pressed on it, and then I'm going to drag my finger across the screen and put it on top of the iTunes Store. And instantly a folder's been created and I can just let go. Now, iOS then tries to guess what you might call the folder. And in this case, it's come up with the option of music. Now that's pretty obvious, and I'm actually quite happy with that. But if I want to change it, I can either press the X. There you go. I can press the X and it disappears, or I can just tap the screen, get a cursor in there, and then I can just type whatever I like. So I'm going to stick with music. I'm just going to type that back in, and there you go. We are now back to calling it music. I'm going to press done, and I'm going to stop this wobble now by pressing the home button, and there you go. Everything's back to normal, and we all feel quite relieved. Our eyes don't feel quite so wobbly. Just going to tap outside of the folder now, and that will take it back to being a folder at the bottom. So we've got two folders, and we can even now, if we want to, we can put our folders next to each other. So I can actually just press and hold onto the music folder, and then as long as I keep hold of it, I can then drag it and put it up to next to my health. So now I can actually rearrange where the folders sit, press the home button, and everything's back to normal again. Okay, so I hope that's been useful. Just a few tips on basic navigation around your iPhone and how you can arrange your apps and create folders in a way that suits you and kind of keeps your iPhone organised. Please do subscribe to the channel, and if you want to find out more about what we do, then you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Instagram under the username of iPhone Life Hacks, and remember that's iPhone Life Hacks with an X on the end. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.